The wind howls through the darkened streets of a quiet California suburb. A dog barks in the distance. A porch light flickers. Everything seems normal, but inside, fear is brewing. Between 1974 and 1986, a man known by many names, the Visalia Ransacker, the East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker, brought fear to the doorsteps of peaceful neighborhoods. He committed more than 100 burglaries, over 50 rapes, and 13 known murders. He stalked his victims like prey, attacked with calculated cruelty, and vanished into the night without a trace. For decades, he was a ghost. But 40 years later, in a twist worthy of fiction, science and determination finally uncovered the truth. This is a story of how one of America's most elusive predators was unmasked, and how justice, long delayed, was finally served. Before he was a Golden State Killer, he was the Visalia Ransacker. In 1974, the city of Visalia began to notice a strange pattern. Homes were being broken into, but the crimes didn't follow a typical burglary pattern. Jewelry was left untouched. Cash remained on the counter. Instead, small, sentimental items were taken. Underwear, photographs, and personal mementos. Drawers were overturned. Beds were disturbed. It was psychological, invasive. These weren't thefts for profit. They were acts of domination and violation. It wasn't long before things escalated. In September 1975, 16-year-old Claude Snelling was shot and killed while trying to protect his daughter from a masked intruder attempting to abduct her. Authorities suspected the ransacker, but within months he disappeared. Visalia believed the nightmare had ended. They were wrong. Just a few months later, in June 1976, a masked man broke into a home in Rancho Cordova, near Sacramento. He tied up a woman, raped her, and vanished before police could respond. The East Area Rapist had arrived. His attacks were calculated. He studied his victims. He entered homes silently, often removing window screens or prying open sliding doors. He carried ropes, knives, and shoelaces, always prepared. He tied his victims with military-style knots and blindfolded them. In many cases, he would place dishes or cups on the male partner's back, whispering, "If I hear a sound, she dies." Then he dragged the woman into another room and assault her. These weren't just physical attacks. They were psychological warfare. The East Area Rapist would linger in a home for hours, eating food, rifling through drawers, even falling asleep, as if to assert his total control. His methods terrified a generation. By 1978, he had committed over 30 rapes. Communities were paralyzed. Neighborhood watch groups exploded in popularity. Gun sales surged. Couples slept in shifts. Dogs were trained. Locks were reinforced. But it didn't matter. He was always one step ahead. He made threatening phone calls before and after attacks. He sent poems to the media, including one titled Excitement's Crave, in which he compared himself to Bonnie and Clyde. The police were overwhelmed. Despite creating one of the largest manhunts in California history, the East Area Rapist remained unidentified. In 1979, the attacks seemed to stop. Hope returned. People began to exhale again. But 400 miles south, in Santa Barbara and Orange County, the nightmare reignited. Now the crimes involved rape and murder. The killer's MO was familiar. Break-ins at night, couples attacked in their homes, bindings, bludgeoning. But now he wasn't leaving survivors. The media dubbed this new monster the original Night Stalker to distinguish him from Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker who would emerge in the mid-1980s. The murders were vicious. Victims were bound, raped, and often killed with a blunt object. In many cases, the killer would cover their heads with blankets or towels, perhaps to depersonalize the violence or to avoid eye contact. There were long pauses between murders, sometimes months, even years, which kept police baffled. They thought they were looking for multiple offenders. By the late 1980s, the killings stopped. The trail went cold. In 2001, advancements in DNA forensics finally linked the East Area Rapist to the original Night Stalker. They were the same man, two terrifying identities, one predator. Authorities unified the cases under one new name, the Golden State Killer. But his real name remained a mystery. For decades, investigators continued chasing leads. The case haunted a generation of detectives. One of them was Paul Holes, a forensic criminologist who worked with Contra Costa County. Holes became obsessed with finding the killer. Even after retiring, he continued working behind the scenes, searching for DNA matches and poring over files. Meanwhile, Michelle McNamara, a true crime writer and wife of comedian Patton Oswalt, was documenting her own obsessive search for the killer. Her blog, True Crime Diary, gained massive attention. Michelle coined the term Golden State Killer, and it stuck. In 2018, her book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, was published posthumously after her sudden passing in 2016. The book reignited national interest and galvanized law enforcement to act. McNamara's haunting message echoed in the hearts of readers and detectives alike. You'll be caught. This is how it ends for you. In a moment of innovation and desperation, law enforcement tried something radical. They uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA into a public genealogy website, GeneMatch, hoping to find a familial link. What they got was a distant relative. Then another, and another. Over several months, genealogists, working with investigators, built family trees, narrowed the suspect pool, and followed the DNA trail. Eventually, one name emerged, Joseph James DeAngelo. Born in 1945, former police officer, Navy veteran, married, father, mechanic, a quiet man living in Citrus Heights, just a few miles from many of the original crime scenes. Surveillance teams watched him. They collected DNA from items he discarded, including a tissue from his trash. The lab results were conclusive. It was him. On April 24th, 2018, after 4 decades of fear, mystery, and heartbreak, Joseph James DeAngelo was arrested. He didn't resist. Neighbors were shocked. To them, he was a cranky man down the street who cursed at people over parking spots and mowed his lawn obsessively. But now he was unmasked. Inside his home, investigators found a chilling reminder of his crimes, a collection of items linked to his victims. Souvenirs, trophies. It was over. DeAngelo was charged with 13 counts of first-degree murder and special circumstances. Because the statute of limitations on rape had expired for many of the cases, prosecutors included 13 additional counts of kidnapping and multiple uncharged acts as part of his plea deal. In a heavily publicized trial in 2020, DeAngelo agreed to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. Over several emotional days, survivors and family members of the victims gave statements. Many had waited their entire lives for this moment. Some confronted him directly. Others wept as they remembered the lives taken, the families shattered, the innocents lost. DeAngelo sat motionless in a wheelchair, frail, silent, hollow. Finally, he stood and muttered, "I've listened to all your statements, and I am truly sorry to everyone I've hurt." But it rang hollow. Born in New York and raised in California, DeAngelo served in the U.S. Navy and was stationed in Vietnam. He later became a police officer in Exeter and Auburn. He was fired in 1979 for shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent. A chilling detail, as both items were found to be used in his crimes. DeAngelo married and had children. He lived an apparently normal life, holding down jobs, paying bills, and raising a family. Behind the mask of normalcy was a deeply disturbed man. He had been violent, controlling, and aggressive with those closest to him. Neighbors recalled bizarre rants and unsettling behavior. His knowledge of law enforcement procedures, fingerprint technology, and investigative tactics helped him stay ahead of authorities. But it was his arrogance, his obsession with control, and the trail of trauma he left behind that finally led to his undoing. The Golden State Killer case changed the course of criminal investigation in the United States. It was the first major case solved through genetic genealogy, a process that has since been used to solve hundreds of other cold cases, including the 1987 murder of April Tinsley, the 1996 rape and murder of Angie Dodge, and the 1984 abduction and murder of Christine Jessup. But the moral questions raised were enormous. Should police be able to use consumer DNA websites? What about privacy? Consent? GeneMatch eventually changed its policies, requiring users to opt in for law enforcement access. Still, the precedent was set. And for the victims of Joseph DeAngelo, the survivors who lived in fear, the families who lost loved ones, the legacy is clear. Science gave them the justice they were denied for too long. Before she passed, Michelle McNamara wrote something in her notebook, a letter to the man she hunted in her mind for years. You'll be silent forever, and I'll be gone in the dark. You'll be caught. This is how it ends for you. She never got to see it happen, but her words became prophecies. Michelle's legacy is more than her writing. It's in the voices of survivors who felt heard. It's in the DNA that finally led to an arrest. It's in the belief that the truth, no matter how buried, can still rise. Joseph James DeAngelo is now in North Kern State Prison, serving life without parole. He will die behind bars. He will never again walk free. He will never again hurt anyone. But the scars he left remain. And yet, through the pain, one message echoes louder than fear. Justice is possible. Evil can be exposed. And even the darkest secrets can't stay hidden forever. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth true crime investigations. Every case we cover is a tribute to truth, resilience, and justice, and we're just getting started.